Greetings, Seekers, and welcome to the Library of Divine Echoes. I'm your host, Christopher Little, and today I will be reviewing the Roman Pantheon and its practical application as a Hermetic framework. In this episode, we will journey far beyond the conventional view of these ancient deities as obsolete mythological figures, exploring instead a profound synthesis of religious, philosophical, and esoteric traditions. Rooted in the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, we will unpack a comprehensive cosmological architecture that maps the absolute oneness of God and the ultimate potential of the human soul. Throughout today's esoteric exploration, we will cover the architecture of the soul. We will examine the core Hermetic doctrine of hierarchical correspondence, revealing how the structure of the heavens is perfectly mirrored within the microcosm of the human being. The cosmic descent and ascent. We will trace the human soul's journey down through the 7 concentric planetary spheres, acquiring necessary earthly qualities from the planetary governors, and detail the process of spiritual alchemy required to shed these burdensome tormentors during the ascent back to the divine source. The blueprint in stone. We will explore how the breathtaking architecture of the Pantheon in Rome, from its 7 planetary niches to the great oculus, serves as a literal physical manifestation of this spiritual ascent and the Hermetic universe. Archetypal resilience. By bridging ancient esotericism with Jungian depth psychology, we will learn how to utilize the Roman gods as dynamic psychological complexes, allowing you to cultivate supreme emotional agility and a formidable growth mindset. Operative magic and theurgy. Finally, we will step into practical application, detailing how to utilize the 7 Hermetic principles, the divinatory art of planetary geomancy, and precise theurgical rituals to draw down the celestial prosperity of deities like Jupiter and Abundantia. This is not merely a historical review. It is a multi-dimensional guide to cultivating internal harmony, manifesting material abundance, and ultimately achieving transcendent spiritual liberation. Let us begin. The intellectual and spiritual landscape of late antiquity produced a profound synthesis of religious, philosophical, and esoteric traditions, most notably encapsulated in the tradition of Hermeticism. Rooted in the teachings attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, a legendary syncretic figure who represents a confluence of the Greek messenger god Hermes and the Egyptian god of wisdom, Thoth, Hermeticism offers a comprehensive framework for understanding the cosmos, the divine nature of reality, and the ultimate potential of the human soul. The Philosophical Hermetica, which primarily survives through the Corpus Hermeticum, a collection of 17 Greek treatises written between approximately 100 and 300 CE, and the Latin Asclepius, outlines a system of transcendent spiritual ascent. This system emphasizes the absolute oneness and goodness of God, the necessary purification of the human soul, and the intimate, unbreakable relationship between the human intellect, nous, and the divine spirit. During the European Renaissance, this ancient wisdom experienced a massive revival that forever altered the trajectory of Western esoteric thought. Translations of the Corpus Hermeticum by the Italian Platonist Marsilio Ficino in the 15th century, alongside the subsequent codification of esoteric philosophy by scholars such as Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa and Paracelsus, integrated Hermetic thought with Neoplatonism, astrology, Kabbalah, and natural magic. Within this newly synthesized paradigm, the deities of ancient Roman Pantheon ceased to be viewed merely as obsolete mythological figures or the subjects of primitive worship. Instead, these deities were recognized as dynamic, archetypal representations of cosmic forces, planetary spheres, and profound psychological realities. This report provides an exhaustive interpretation of how the Roman Pantheon and Hermetic cosmology interlock to form a robust, operative architecture for spiritual alchemy, divinatory practice, and psychological resilience. By mapping the planetary spheres to Roman deities, applying principles of Jungian archetypal psychology, and engaging in structured theurgical and geomantic practices, individuals are provided with a mechanism to undergo genuine spiritual growth. This framework serves as a practical, multidimensional guide that enables the practitioner to cultivate internal and external harmony, manifest material abundance, and develop a formidable growth mindset capable of weathering the profound challenges of human existence. Central to all Hermetic philosophy is the doctrine of hierarchical correspondence between the macrocosmic universe and the microcosmic human being. This concept dictates that the structure of the heavens is perfectly mirrored within the architecture of the human soul and body. The Hermetic cosmos is structured around a series of concentric celestial spheres through which the soul must travel, both during its initial incarnation into matter and during its ultimate spiritual liberation. In the Corpus Hermeticum, specifically within the foundational visionary tractate known as Poimandres, the creation of the cosmos involves the establishment of 7 distinct planetary spheres. These spheres are ruled by entities often referred to as the 7 governors, who administer the laws of fate and destiny over the material world. These 7 spheres are traditionally understood by Hermeticists and ancient astrologers to correspond directly to the 7 classical planets visible to the naked eye: the Moon, Mercury, Venus, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. According to the cosmological vision revealed to Hermes Trismegistus, the human soul does not originate in the physical world. Rather, it originates outside the material cosmos, dwelling in a state of pure, pre-incarnate divinity. In order to experience physical incarnation and participate in the realm of generation, the soul must descend through these 7 concentric planetary spheres. During this downward journey, the soul absorbs various qualities, energies, and irrational drives from each planetary governor. These qualities are absolutely necessary for physical survival, biological reproduction, and successful functioning in the material world, meaning that they are not inherently evil in the Gnostic sense, but rather represent mechanisms of earthly fate and biological necessity. While the accumulation of planetary qualities is necessary for earthly life, these same qualities become burdensome tormentors that bind the soul to the illusion of the material world, preventing it from realizing its true divine nature. To achieve spiritual liberation and return to the divine source, the soul must consciously reverse its cosmic journey. This ascent can occur after physical death, but in the Hermetic tradition is primarily sought during life through profound mystical contemplation, ascetic purification, and theurgical practice. During this upward journey, the soul must systematically strip off the accumulated planetary qualities, shedding them almost like clothes, in a process beautifully described in the Hermetic texts as the shirt analogy. The qualities shed at each specific sphere align directly with the energetic domains of the respective Roman deities associated with those planets. The process of systematic shredding presents the ultimate act of psychological and spiritual alchemy. Cosmic sphere. First sphere. Planetary ruler, Luna, the moon. Roman deity, Diana, Luna. Qualities acquired during descent, bodily instinct, memory, biological tides, cycles of birth and decay. Vices or energies shed during ascent, the illusion of the flesh, mindless repetition, and the shifting tides of biological necessity. Cosmic sphere. Second sphere. Planetary ruler, Mercurius, Mercury. Roman deity, Mercury. Qualities acquired during descent, intellect, language, dualistic thought, communication, cunning. vices or energies shed during ascent, evil machination, deceit, the manipulation of language, and the endless contradictions of the rational mind. Cosmic sphere, third sphere, planetary ruler, Venus, Roman deity, Venus, quality acquired during descent, desire, connection, attraction, aesthetic appreciation, romance, vices or energies shed during ascent, the illusion of longing, the attachments of physical lust, and the ache of superficial beauty. Cosmic sphere, fourth sphere, planetary ruler, soul, the sun, Roman deity, Apollo, soul, qualities acquired during descent, identity, illumination, will, the central organizing principle of the self, vices or energies shed during ascent, arrogance, vanity, and the self-centered egoism that binds the soul to a localized individual identity. Cosmic sphere, fifth sphere, planetary ruler, Mars, Roman deity, Mars, qualities acquired during descent, strife, drive, martial fire, ambition, the instinct for self-defense. Vices or energies shed during ascent, martial ambition, wrath, destructive conquest, and the egoic need for dominance over others. Cosmic sphere, sixth sphere, planetary ruler, Jupiter, Roman deity, Jupiter, qualities acquired during descent, order, law, meaning, philosophical expansion, the moral sense. Vices or energies shed during ascent, attachment to mundane hierarchies, the desire for worldly health, and dogmatic adherence to earthly laws. Cosmic sphere, seventh sphere, planetary ruler, Saturnus, Saturn, Roman deity, Saturn, qualities acquired during descent, time, limitation, boundaries, mortality, deep contemplation. Vices or energies shed during ascent, the ultimate constraint of temporal existence, the fear of death, and the final limitations of material reality. Upon successfully passing through these seven spheres and shedding their corresponding vices and limitations, the fully purified soul breaks free from the dominion of fate. It then reaches the Ogdoad, the eighth sphere, which corresponds to the realm of the fixed stars. From this vantage point of pure, unmediated truth, the soul eventually moves into the ninth sphere, a realm of divine silence, where it is fully integrated with God, achieving the state of transcendent wholeness. The profound cosmological concepts of Hermeticism are not confined to ancient manuscripts. They find their most perfect literal architectural expression in the Pantheon in Rome. Originally commissioned by Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa during the reign of Augustus, the temple was completely rebuilt in its current form by the Emperor Hadrian around 126 CE, retaining Agrippa's original dedication inscription on the portico. The name Pantheon translates from the Greek as a temple dedicated to all the gods, serving as a monument to the totality of the Roman divine hierarchy. The architectural design of the Pantheon serves as a profound esoteric blueprint, consciously mirroring the Hermetic concept of the universe. The structure of the main building, the rotunda, consists of a massive windowless circular wall that supports a staggering hemispherical concrete dome. The idealized image of the cosmos as a perfect sphere dictates the building's internal geometry. A perfect sphere can fit precisely within the interior of the structure, as the diameter of the interior circle is exactly equal to the height from the floor to the zenith, measuring 43 meters. The interior of the rotunda is punctuated by 7 large, splendid niches located at ground level, situated between massive Corinthian columns. Historically, these 7 niches held the statues of the 7 planetary deities, cosmocrators, corresponding precisely to the Hermetic spheres: the Sun, Apollo; the Moon, Diana; Venus, Saturn; Jupiter, Mercury, and Mars. The dome itself is a marvel of Roman engineering and spiritual symbolism. To reduce the immense weight of the concrete, the Roman architects utilized progressively lighter aggregate materials, culminating in the use of highly porous volcanic pumice near the apex. The interior of the dome features 5 concentric rings of lacuna coffering, which originally held gilded bronze rosettes resembling the stars. These 5 rings, combined with the plain ring that borders the apex, guide the eye upward to the great oculus. The oculus, a massive unglazed opening 29 feet in diameter, acts as the 7th circle and provides the only source of natural light within the cavernous space. In Hermetic terms, the architectural experience is a physical manifestation of the spiritual ascent. Standing at the center of the Pantheon's marble floor represents the human soul situated on Earth, surrounded by the immediate influence of the 7 planetary governors residing in their respective niches. Looking upward through the concentric rings of the dome represents the contemplative ascent through the celestial spheres, culminating in the oculus. The oculus serves as the gateway to the Ogdoad and the infinite light of the divine mind. The sunlight streaming through this zenithal eye acts as a cosmic sundial, tracking the passage of time across the interior walls and illuminating the profound connection between human temporality and divine eternity. This astronomical alignment is particularly evident on April 21st, the legendary founding date of Rome, when the midday sun enters the oculus to perfectly illuminate the entrance, symbolizing the divine mandate and illumination of the civilization. The preservation of this magnificent esoteric structure was ensured when, in 609 CE, the Byzantine Emperor Phocas presented the building to Pope Boniface IV, who purified it and consecrated it as the Basilica of Saint Mary and the Martyrs, casting out the pagan demons, while unintentionally preserving a perfect architectural model of the Hermetic universe for posterity. To implement this vast cosmological framework practically in the modern era, practitioners must bridge ancient esotericism with contemporary cognitive development. This synthesis is achieved through the lens of depth psychology, which translates the metaphysical journey through the planetary spheres into a highly actionable process of internal psychological maturation. The Swiss psychologist and psychoanalyst Carl Jung proposed the existence of a collective unconscious, a deep inherited layer of the human psyche populated by universal patterns of thought, imagery, and instinct known as archetypes. Post-Jungian thought, particularly the school of archetypal psychology pioneered by James Hillman in the 1970s, argues that the gods of the Greco-Roman Pantheon should not be viewed merely as literal figures residing on a distant Mount Olympus, nor as mere literary devices. Instead, these deities are understood as condensed knots of psychological meaning, fundamental fantasies, and instinctual dynamisms that actively animate human life. In this psychological framework, every Roman god represents a dynamic, explosive psychological complex within the individual. The assertion that each of us contains within us the whole Olympian pantheon implies that the human mind possesses a vast repertoire of latent behavioral templates. Engaging with the Roman deities becomes synonymous with engaging with the foundational structures of one's own mind, transforming the pantheon into a sophisticated diagnostic and therapeutic tool. While mapping these cognitive functions and mindsets to the Roman gods, specific psychological utilities emerge. Apollo, Sol, represents the Apollonian qualities of reason, restraint, clear focus, artistic clarity, and harmonious culture. Activating this archetype provides the illumination necessary for objective self-analysis. Mars represents the instinct of self-defense, martial energy, and the drive to push forward despite overwhelming fear. This archetype is crucial for channeling aggressive energy into constructive action, providing the raw motivational fuel required for resilience. Vulcan, Hephaestus, embodies the archetype of the tireless craftsman. This energy provides persistence, the ability to endure endless trial and error, and the deep resilience required to forge something valuable out of base materials. It is the psychological reflection of the alchemical process itself. Mercury, the messenger, the guide of souls, and the trickster. Activating the mercurial archetype enhances cognitive flexibility, rapid problem-solving, and the sophisticated ability to embrace contradictions and navigate transitional phases in life. Minerva, the archetype of strategic thinking, long-term planning, and intellectual rigor, providing the necessary architecture to support the impulsive energy of Mars. Modern behavioral psychology places immense emphasis on the growth mindset, a concept championed by researchers like Carol Dweck. A growth mindset is the fundamental belief that human capacities, intelligence, and talents are not fixed traits, but can be cultivated, expanded, and improved through deliberate effort, continuous learning, and perseverance. This psychological flexibility is the absolute cornerstone of learned resilience, which is the strategic ability to adapt, recover, and evolve in the face of severe adversity, trauma, and complex disruptions. Hermeticism and archetypal psychology offer profound methodologies for cultivating this precise form of resilience. By recognizing that one's psyche contains the entire Roman Pantheon, an individual realizes that they are never permanently limited to a single, fixed personality trait or a paralyzing emotional state. If a practitioner faces a situation requiring extreme discipline, endurance, and boundary setting, they can consciously invoke the archetype of Saturn. Conversely, if a situation demands rapid adaptability and eloquent communication, they can constellate the energy of Mercury. This conscious shifting of internal archetypes prevents the individual from becoming hopelessly rigid, ensuring that they remain fluid and capable of continuous growth. This psychological agility is deeply rooted in the philosophy of Roman Stoicism, which was practiced by emperors and slaves alike. The Stoics categorized the ideal human life into the pursuit of four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. To achieve these virtues, Stoics rigorously separated the events of life into two categories: things within their control, their own thoughts, choices, and reactions, and things outside their control, the weather, the economy, the opinions of others. To reinforce this mindset, Stoics practiced a meditative exercise known as the view from above. In this practice, the individual visualizes themselves floating high above the earth, looking down at the totality of human existence, observing the fleeting nature of empires, conflicts, and individual lives. This change of perspective from the individual ego to the whole directly mirrors the Hermetic ascent through the planetary spheres. By consciously distancing oneself from immediate earthly anxieties and viewing life from the transcendent, celestial vantage point of the Ogdode, the practitioner effectively neutralizes the emotional turbulence of the lower spheres. This practice fosters profound emotional resilience, a reduction in anxiety, and an unbreakable growth mindset capable of treating every obstacle as raw material for spiritual development. The philosophical theories of Hermeticism are distilled into actionable operative mechanics through the 7 Hermetic principles. These principles, which govern the intricate relationship between the physical and metaphysical realities, were famously synthesized and popularized in the early 20th century text, the Kybalion. Understanding and applying these 7 universal laws allows the practitioner to navigate the planetary archetypes effectively and manifest their desired reality. 1. The principle of mentalism. The all is mind. This principle posits that the foundational reality of the universe is inherently mental. Everything originates from a universal consciousness, meaning that the universe itself is a mental creation. Because reality is generated by consciousness, human thoughts, beliefs, and mental patterns possess literal creative power. In practice, this requires the individual to take absolute responsibility for their internal narrative. By mastering the mental world through meditation, visualization, and the reframing of negative, limiting beliefs into positive affirmations, the practitioner directly influences their external reality, proving that resilience and abundance begin within the mind. 2. The principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As within, so without. This law establishes that the macrocosm, the universe, and the microcosm, the individual human being, perfectly reflect one another. The planetary spheres moving in the heavens mirror the complex psychological states operating within the human brain. By studying the movements and characteristics of the Roman deities, the practitioner gains profound insight into their own subconscious drives. Furthermore, cultivating inner peace directly corresponds to the creation of a peaceful external environment. 3. The principle of vibration. Everything in existence is in constant motion and vibrates at a specific frequency. Dense physical matter and negative emotions, such as fear, grief, and shame, vibrate at very low, sluggish frequencies, while pure spirit and positive emotions, such as joy, love, and gratitude, vibrate at highly elevated frequencies. Spiritual alchemy involves the deliberate transmutation of one's personal vibration from the heavy lead of ignorance and fear to the radiant gold of enlightenment and love, utilizing techniques like mindfulness and conscious gratitude to elevate the personal resonance. 4. The principle of polarity. Everything in the universe has an opposite, but this principle reveals that opposites are merely differing degrees of the exact same phenomenon. Heat and cold are identical in nature, differing only in degree. The same applies to courage and fear, or wealth and poverty. By recognizing this underlying unity, a practitioner can consciously slide their mental state along the pole from a negative extreme to a positive one, realizing that a state of deep fear contains the exact same energy required for immense courage. 5. The principle of rhythm. The universe operates in continuous cycles, pendulums, and natural tides. Everything rises and falls. By understanding this rhythm, the Hermetic practitioner does not despair during inevitable periods of hardship, failure, or spiritual winter. They recognize that the pendulum must swing and that the rhythm will inevitably return toward a phase of growth and expansion. This understanding breeds deep patience, profound resilience, and the ability to rest during low tides without losing hope. 6. The principle of cause and effect. Nothing happens by blind chance. Every action generates a corresponding reaction, and every cause produces an effect across multiple planes of existence. The masses of humanity are generally the effects of their environment, swept along by the wills of others, societal conditioning, or dictates of planetary fate. The Hermetic practitioner, however, utilizes intention setting and aligned action to become a conscious cause, deliberately shaping their destiny rather than reacting passively to circumstances. 7. The principle of gender. Everything contains both masculine and feminine principles, which must work in a symbiotic partnership to achieve creation and sustenance. The masculine principle embodies will, logic, focus, and outward action, while the feminine principle embodies intuition, nurturing, receptivity, and creative imagination. True spiritual mastery and personal wholeness require the harmonious integration of both energies within the psyche, preventing the rigidity that comes from over-identifying with only one aspect of existence. While the philosophical Hermetica focuses largely on transcendent mysticism and the ultimate liberation of the soul, the technical Hermetica provides highly operative tools for navigating the immediate challenges of the material world. These practical sciences include astrology, alchemy, and various forms of divination. One of the most precise, accurate, and structurally profound divinatory systems that utilizes planetary, elemental, and astrological correspondences is geomancy. Derived from the Greek geomantia, meaning divination by earth, and originating from the Middle Eastern tradition of Ilm al-Raml, the science of the sand. Geomancy was introduced to Europe during the Middle Ages, where it acquired deep astrological overlays. Historically lauded by Renaissance occultists like Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa as an exceptionally accurate system, geomancy bridges the celestial planetary intelligences with the terrestrial realm. Unlike complex astrological charting that requires ephemerides and precise birth times, geomancy requires only a mechanism to generate random points, making it a highly accessible yet profoundly deep practice. The geomantic process begins with the diviner holding a clear question or intention in their mind while casting 16 lines of random points, or dots, from right to left on a piece of paper, parchment, or in the earth. These points are then counted off in pairs. If a line yields an odd number of points, it translates to a single dot, representing active energy. If it yields an even number, it translates to 2 dots, representing passive energy. These lines are grouped to create the 4 foundational mothers, from which a complete mathematical tableau, or shield chart, is generated. The resulting figures are constructed of 4 distinct levels corresponding directly to the classical elements and human anatomy: fire, the head; air, the throat or neck; water, the heart or body; and earth, the feet or genitals. Geomancy is not mere fatalistic fortune-telling. Rather, it is a diagnostic mechanism that reveals the specific planetary energies currently dominating a situation. By divining the underlying energetic architecture, the practitioner can momentarily incarnate divine intelligence and perceive the cosmic order, allowing them to formulate a strategic, resilient response to their circumstances. Each of the 16 geomantic figures corresponds to a specific planet, an astrological zodiac sign, and an elemental nature, intricately tying the divinatory outcome to the archetypes of the Roman Pantheon. Geomantic figure: Via. Latin translation: the way. Roman deity, planetary ruler: Luna, waning moon. Astrological sign: Cancer. Inner, outer element: water, water. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation: indicates change, movement, travel, and journeys. Highly active, all elements active, it suggests instability and the shifting tides of lunar energy. Geomantic figure: Populus. Latin translation: the people. Roman deity, planetary ruler: Luna, waxing moon. Astrological sign: Cancer. Inner, outer element: water, water. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation: represents passivity, crowds, neutrality, and gathering. It reflects a situation lacking clear direction, mirroring the unformed potential of the collective. Geomantic figure: Conjunctio. Latin translation: conjunction. Deity or planetary ruler: Mercurius, Mercury. Astrological sign: Virgo. Inner, outer element: air, earth. Meaning and archetypal interpretation: signifies connection, meetings, recovery, and intersection. It embodies the mercurial ability to bridge gaps, communicate, and join divergent paths. Geomantic figure, albus, Latin translation, white, deity, planetary ruler, Mercurius, Mercury, astrological sign, Gemini, inner outer element, air, water. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation denotes peace, illumination, and wisdom. While fortunate for intellectual pursuits, it is considered physically weak and passive, requiring careful application. Geomantic figure, Puella, Latin translation, the girl, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Venus, astrological sign, Taurus, inner outer element, air, water. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation represents harmony, beauty, pleasantness, and sometimes superficiality. It is highly favorable for matters of romance, aesthetics, and social cohesion. Geomantic figure, Amicio, Latin translation, loss, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Venus, astrological sign, Libra, inner outer element, earth, fire. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation signifies letting go, losing, spending, or emotional release. While typically negative for financial questions, it is excellent for releasing illness or ending toxic situations. Geomantic figure, Fortuna Major, Latin translation, greater fortune, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Sol, Sun, astrological sign, Leo, inner outer element, fire, earth. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation indicates great success, vital energy, and overcoming boundaries. It represents the powerful, illuminating, and stabilizing energy of the Apollonian solar archetype. Geomantic figure, Fortuna Minor, Latin translation, lesser fortune, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Sol, Sun, astrological sign, Leo, inner outer element, fire, fire. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation denotes swift but fleeting success and sudden assistance. It requires the practitioner to act quickly before the rapid solar energy dissipates. Geomantic figure, Puer, Latin translation, the boy, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Mars, astrological sign, Aries, inner outer element, air, fire. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation represents rashness, martial energy, impulsivity, and physical drive. It embodies the unrefined, aggressive courage of Aries, requiring discipline to harness effectively. Geomantic figure, Rubeus, Latin translation, red, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Mars, astrological sign, Scorpio, inner outer element, water, fire. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation signifies intense passion, violence, vice, and chaotic force. It is a highly unfavorable figure that warns of destructive martial impulses overriding rational thought. Geomantic figure, Acquisitio, Latin translation, gain, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Jupiter, astrological sign, Sagittarius, inner outer element, fire, air. Divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation indicates profound success, material wealth, absorption, and obtaining. It reflects the expansive sovereign benevolence of the Jupiterian archetype. Geomantic figure, Letitia, Latin translation, joy, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Jupiter, astrological sign, Pisces, inner outer element, water, fire. divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation, represents happiness, health, uplifting energy, and emotional expansion. It signals a deeply positive outcome driven by joyful, buoyant forces. Geomantic figure, Carcer, Latin translation, prison, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Saturnus, Saturn, astrological sign, Capricorn, inner, outer element, Earth, Earth, divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation, signifies incarceration, restriction, delay, binding, and immobility. It embodies the severe limitations and temporal boundaries enforced by Saturn. Geomantic figure, Tristitia, Latin translation, sorrow, Roman deity, planetary ruler, Saturnus, Saturn, astrological sign, Aquarius, inner, outer element, Earth, air, divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation, denotes grief, depression, downward motion, and grounding. It reflects the melancholic, heavy weight of the Saturnine contemplation and the necessity of enduring hardship. Geomantic figure, Caput Draconis, Latin translation, head of the dragon, Roman deity or planetary ruler, North Node, astrological sign, Capricorn, Virgo, inner, outer element, Earth, fire, divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation, represents entering, beginning, and highly favorable thresholds. It suggests a time of inception and positive alignment with cosmic trajectory. Geomantic figure, Cauda Draconis, Latin translation, tail of the dragon, Roman deity, planetary ruler, South Node, astrological sign, Scorpio, Sagittarius, inner, outer element, fire, water, divinatory meaning and archetypal interpretation, signifies exiting, ending, illusion, and deception. It is generally considered malefic, warning the practitioner of treacherous endings or necessary purges. By analyzing the tableau, a practitioner can determine exactly which planetary force is operating within their life. For instance, an abundance of martial figures, Puer or Rubeus, dominating a reading clearly indicates an excess of conflict and aggression. The Hermetic solution is not merely to accept this fate, but to invoke the mitigating harmonious forces of Venus, Puella, to soothe the aggression, or to apply the structural, limiting discipline of Saturn, Carcer, to contain the chaos. Advanced geomancers will often draw specific planetary sigils or invoke the ruling of genius of the required planet, such as Zazel for Saturn or Hismael for Jupiter, during the casting process, thereby anchoring the divinatory reading firmly within the divine hierarchy and elevating it to an act of applied theurgy. While the ultimate goal of the Hermetic path is the transcendence of the material realm and union with the divine mind, the philosophy explicitly acknowledges that the physical world is a direct reflection of the divine, as dictated by the principle of correspondence. Therefore, achieving material harmony, financial stability, and physical well-being is not viewed as a base distraction, but as a perfectly valid expression of bringing cosmic order down to the earthly plane. To achieve this deliberate manifestation, Hermeticists engaged in theurgy, literally translating to God work, an ancient ritual practice aimed at spiritual union, personal purification, and the precise drawing down of celestial influences. Modern practitioners often differentiate between the celestial gods, the transcendent planetary principles governing overarching fate in the heavens, and the terrestrial gods, the localized immediate presence of the divine that can be invited to inhabit statues, temples, or personal altars. To cultivate abundance in one's life, the practitioner must create a highly specific terrestrial focal point to invite and anchor the corresponding celestial energy. This practice traces its lineage back to Renaissance masters like Marsilio Vicino, who, in his seminal work De Vita Libri Tres, 3 books on life, outlined methods for scholars to cure saturnine melancholy and attract benign celestial powers from the Sun, Jupiter, and Venus through the use of specific music, aromas, and natural magic designed to nourish the spiritus, the pure, hot, subtle vapor of the blood that connects the body to the soul. Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa expanded on this in De Occulta Philosophia, detailing how the magus acts as a go-between, utilizing the virtues of the elemental world, herbs, stones, to draw down the powers of the celestial world, planets, to ultimately commune with the intellectual world, the divine. Within the specific context of the Roman Pantheon, the cultivation of wealth, prosperity, and expansive growth is governed by precise divine manifestations. Jupiter, recognized as the sovereign cosmocrator, Jupiter is associated with the overarching principles of expansion, religious and societal order, immense prosperity, and the magnification of what one currently possesses. Fortuna, the goddess of chance, fate, and luck, originally revered as an agricultural deity who granted bounty and protected grain stores, her domain expanded alongside the Roman Empire to govern broader economic fortune, material wealth, and the unpredictable turning of the cosmic wheel. Abundantia, the pure, divine personification of abundance, money flow, and unmitigated success. She is perpetually depicted carrying a cornucopia, the legendary horn of plenty, overflowing with grains, fruits, and gold coins, symbolizing the endless, cascading prosperity of the universe that she distributes to those aligned with her energy. To effectively implement Hermetic principles for material gain, practitioners must combine magical intention with concrete, mundane financial action. A highly effective method for achieving this synthesis is the creation and maintenance of a dedicated Abundantia altar. The implementation of this theurgical practice follows precise steps. First, the practitioner selects a focal point for the altar space. This must be a physical symbol of continuous prosperity, such as a small cornucopia, a dedicated bowl overflowing with coins, or a high-quality images depicting a rich, abundant harvest. Second, the practitioner surrounds this focal point with elemental and alchemical accents designed to draw and anchor specific frequencies. Gold candles are placed on the altar to invoke the solar warmth necessary for wealth generation, while cinnamon sticks are utilized specifically for their long-standing esoteric correspondence to drawing prosperity. Third, the practitioner must physically handwrite their specific, measurable financial goals and place this paper directly on the altar. This act is crucial as it translates the mental desire, governed by the principle of mentalism, into physical reality, governed by the principle of correspondence, keeping the objectives active and focused. Finally, the ritual of integration is performed on a weekly basis. The practitioner lights the gold candle to activate the sacred space. Crucially, while the candle burns, the practitioner does not simply sit passively and meditate on the abstract concept of wealth. Instead, they actively engage in mundane, practical financial management, meticulously reviewing budgets, analyzing investment portfolios, or organizing debt repayment strategies. This powerful synthesis of theurgical ambience and practical execution ensures that the practitioner is actively participating in the hermetic alignment of their microeconomy with the macrocosmic flow of abundance, rather than waiting passively for unearned fortune. For any form of planetary magic or theurgy to reach its maximum effectiveness, it must be executed in alignment with natural cosmic rhythms. The ancient astrologers divided the daylight and nighttime into 12 hours each, assigning the rulership of each specific hour to the 7 classical planets based on the Chaldean order of their apparent orbital speeds: Saturn, the slowest; Jupiter, Mars, Sol, the Sun; Venus, Mercury, and Luna, the moon, the fastest. A rigorous professional Hermetic practice utilizes these planetary hours to amplify ritual intentions. For instance, a ritual designed for financial expansion or the assumption of leadership should be conducted on Thursday, the day inherently ruled by Jupiter, during the specific hour ruled by Jupiter, or on Sunday, the day of the Sun, during a solar hour to maximize visibility and authority. Because the length of daylight changes throughout the year, these hours do not correspond to standard 60-minute clock hours, except exactly at the equinoxes. Practitioners calculate these precise magical hours by determining the exact time of sunrise and sunset for their specific geographic locale and dividing the intervening daylight into 12 equal parts. The first hour immediately following sunrise is always ruled by the planet that governs that day of the week. Aligning one's magical, psychological, and mundane efforts with these meticulously calculated times ensures that the practitioner is rowing effortlessly with the cosmic tide rather than fighting against it. While establishing material harmony and resilience is highly beneficial, the ultimate aim of the Hermetic path remains the radical transmutation of the self, the ascent of the soul from the prison of the lower spheres to the absolute freedom of the divine mind. Achieving this transcendent state requires a lifetime of consistent, highly disciplined, meditative, and devotional practice. Consistency is the paramount virtue in Hermeticism. The Corpus Hermeticum provides a distinct framework for daily devotion that intentionally bypasses the lower planetary gods who govern material fate and directs worship straight to the ultimate divine source, the one God, or Pige. The practitioner should establish a firm morning routine immediately upon waking. This involves engaging the Holy Trisagion, a profound prayer at the conclusion of Tractate 1, Poimandres. Reciting this prayer strengthens the individual's connection to Nous, the divine mind, and firmly aligns their personal will with the cosmic order, serving as a powerful, purifying psychological anchor before the turbulence of the day begins. At the close of the day, preferably at sunset, the practitioner recites the secret hymn found in Tractate 13. This practice explicitly activates inner virtues such as temperance, justice, truth, goodness, and generosity, allowing these divine qualities to sing through the practitioner and bring the soul into perfect harmony with the divine before sleep. To ensure these vital practices survive the relentless chaos and distraction of modern life, practitioners are strongly advised to utilize the mundane productivity technique of time blocking. By fiercely protecting a 2 to 5 minute window every single morning and evening, perhaps by waking up 30 minutes earlier and placing the smartphone in airplane mode to eliminate digital intrusions, the practitioner establishes an inviolable physical and temporal boundary for their spiritual growth. In Corpus Hermeticum, Tractate 13, The Secret Sermon on the Mountain, Hermes Trismegistus instructs his student Tat on the ultimate spiritual achievement within the tradition, the experience of rebirth. This process is not merely metaphorical. It requires the practitioner to consciously and systematically cleanse themselves of the 12 irrational tormentors of the material world. These tormentors, which arise from a lack of divine reason and are tied to the zodiacal and lower planetary influences, include ignorance, sorrow, intemperance, lust, injustice, greed, deceit, envy, treachery, anger, recklessness, and malice. To eradicate these deeply ingrained psychological flaws, the practitioner uses intense meditation to draw down the 10 powers of God. By systematically invoking a divine quality to replace an irrational drive, such as invoking the knowledge of God to drive out ignorance, or invoking pure joy to eradicate sorrow, the 12 irrational tormentors are ousted by the 10 divine unities. This process is the highest and most profound form of psychological alchemy, transmuting the heavy, reactive lead of base human emotion into the radiant gold of divine equanimity and transcendent consciousness. To actively experience the spiritual ascent through the planetary spheres during life, practitioners engage in highly structured contemplative visualizations, drawing upon techniques from ancient Neoplatonists and alchemists. One foundational practice is the contemplation of the divine image. The practitioner selects an image or icon of a specific Roman deity, such as Apollo or Mercury, creating a physical focal point. By repeatedly chanting traditional epithets, for example addressing Apollo as the far shooter or the bringer of light, and maintaining unbroken visual focus on the image, the practitioner forces the discursive, chattering mind to quiet down. This concentrated focus opens a psychological gateway, allowing the practitioner to commune with the archetypal presence residing deep within their own psyche. A more advanced technique is the ascent of Zosimos, based on the practices of pioneering Greco-Egyptian alchemist Zosimos of Panopolis. The practitioner begins by intensely contemplating a completely mundane object, element, or daily task in their immediate physical environment. Using their inner spiritual senses, they trace the essence of that object upward through the hierarchy of existence. They move step by step from the object's gross material shell through its elemental makeup, identifying its planetary ruler, and ultimately arriving at the pure divine idea in the mind of God that spawned it. This exercise aggressively trains the mind to perceive the sacred architecture hidden within the ordinary world. Finally, practitioners may utilize Platonian expansion, a meditation inspired by Neoplatonic philosopher Plotinus. The practitioner sits in absolute stillness and visualizes the divine energy, the pure light of the nous, expanding outward from their own physical center, suffusing the entire visible world until the boundaries between self and environment dissolve. By asking the divine to come and rest within whatever thoughts or awareness rises, the practitioner learns to view every single moment, no matter how mundane or challenging, as an inflection point of divinity. Through these rigorous daily practices of prayer, visualization, and active psychological transmutation, the Hermetic adept slowly but surely untethers themselves from the reactive programming of the lower spheres. They learn to don the planetary garments when they are useful for navigating the material world, and to shed them effortlessly when they become restrictive, achieving true mastery over their own destiny. The integration of the Roman Pantheon within the vast cosmological framework of Hermeticism offers far more than a mere historical curiosity or a catalogue of ancient myths. It provides a profound, actionable, and highly sophisticated system for navigating the extreme complexities of human existence. By understanding the 7 planetary spheres not merely as distant celestial bodies, but as deep psychological structures and active archetypal forces, the modern seeker gains an unparalleled map of their own consciousness. Through the diligent and intelligent application of the 7 Hermetic principles, the diagnostic clarity provided by planetary geomancy, and the operative power of theurgic rituals specifically tailored to entities like Abundantia and Jupiter, an individual can successfully engineer a life of material stability, abundance, and external harmony. More importantly, by utilizing Stoic cognitive reframing, the insights of archetypal psychology, and the rigorous daily meditative practices prescribed in the ancient Corpus Hermeticum, the practitioner develops an unshakable growth mindset. They become capable of transmuting life's inevitable tragedies and obstacles into the very fuel required for their own psychological evolution. Ultimately, the supreme goal of this Hermetic framework is total spiritual liberation. Much like the breathtaking architecture of the Roman Pantheon itself, the human soul is designed to stand firmly grounded on the earth, interacting harmoniously with the cosmic forces of the planetary gods, yet forever gazing upward through the oculus of the illuminated mind. By engaging in this great work, the practitioner ascends beyond the restrictive spheres of earthly fate, shedding the garments of mortality to reunite with the infinite, eternal light of the divine. Find a comfortable, seated position. Close your eyes and take a slow, deliberate breath, drawing the air deep into your lungs. Release it slowly, letting go of the immediate distractions of the material world. Visualize yourself standing perfectly still at the center of the magnificent marble floor of the Pantheon in Rome. In this sacred geometry, you represent the human soul, firmly situated here on Earth. Take a moment to perceive your surroundings. At ground level, situated between massive Corinthian columns, are 7 splendid niches. Imagine the planetary governors residing within them: the Sun, the Moon, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, and Mars. Recognize that these are not distant entities on Mount Olympus, but rather dynamic, explosive psychological complexes residing deep within your own mind. You contain this entire pantheon within you. Now slowly shift your inner gaze upward, looking into the staggering hemispherical concrete dome. Trace the 5 concentric rings of stars as they guide your vision higher, drawing your eye toward the great oculus. See the sunlight streaming through this massive unglazed opening. Begin your contemplative ascent. As your awareness rises through the celestial spheres, consciously strip off the burdensome planetary qualities that bind you to earthly anxieties, shedding them almost like clothes. Release the heavy limitations and fear of Saturn. Release the wrath and destructive conquest of Mars. Release the endless contradictions and deceit of the rational mind governed by Mercury. Rise through the oculus, passing into the infinite light of the divine mind. Allow yourself to rest in this realm of divine silence, fully integrated with the ultimate divine source. From this transcendent vantage point, you are no longer a victim of fate. You are fluid, adaptable, and capable of continuous growth. You are now prepared to descend back into the physical realm, ready to consciously don the garments of planetary archetypes only when they serve your highest good. Take one final deep breath of this pure celestial light. Slowly bring your awareness back to your physical body. When you are ready, open your eyes. Thank you for joining me on this profound ascent today, as we have explored the integration of the Roman Pantheon within the cosmological framework of Hermeticism is far more than a mere historical curiosity. It provides us with a highly sophisticated, actionable system for navigating the extreme complexities of human existence. By understanding these deities as deep psychological structures and active archetypal forces, you are armed with an unparalleled map of your own consciousness. Whether you are cultivating the fierce martial energy required for self-defense, invoking the precise intellectual rigor of Minerva, or constructing an altar to draw down the cascading prosperity of Abundantia and Jupiter, you now possess the operative tools to engineer a life of external harmony and internal resilience. Remember that the supreme goal of this great work is your ultimate spiritual liberation. May you stand firmly grounded on the earth, yet forever gaze upward through the illuminated mind. I've been your host, Christopher Little. Until our next journey together, Thank you for seeking the truth here at the Library of Divine Echoes.